I lived here until 1980. So I was really, a young adult only for a short period of time. And I graduated from the University of Miami with a BA in art. I mean, my BA was in education and my minor was in art because my mother was very insistent that I be able to get a job when I got out of college. So, I studied with Gene Masson and some of those early guys, but I was never really part of the art world. My personal story is that I had a child very, very young. I was 23 years old. And I was, taking care of him and working part-time as an art teacher in some of the local schools. But it wasn't until, much later, really, that I got involved in the art scene at all. Because after I moved from Miami, I moved up to New York. I had been working in Miami as an illustrator. And there's a whole story behind that. When I was married, my husband was in the film business and he wanted to help me get a job. So it turned out that there was a guy named Mark Chenoy who had been a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War. And in order to do his community service, he started working for the Dade County School Board because he had worked for Jim Henson and the Muppets. So he knew how to make Muppets. He knew how to do stop motion animation. And he hired a few of us to work on making public service announcements for the school board. So that was my first sort of commercial art job, an interesting time in my life. And then I started going into illustration down here, also because my husband had connections with the ad agencies. And then at a certain point, Miami was becoming very dangerous. People were getting guns, like people I knew. And I was kind of frustrated by not being able to really develop my own style because as an illustrator down here, you had to do all kinds of styles. Like they would have these boxes that they would get from the reps in New York that had all these different artists' work in it. And they would say, here, can you do something like this for this ad? And I could do it. I mean, I was really good at drawing. So I wanted to, I just, I had it with Miami. You just sort of get to that point sometimes. And I moved to New York and I had no clients at all. I was a single mom by that time. I took my kid out of school, brought him to the Upper West Side, and started going around with my portfolio, and they would see all these different styles and they would go, how many people are you representing? And I would say, well, no, that's kind of what we do down there. So for a while, I actually got a rep who was interested in representing me, which is amazing. And she said, put together a portfolio of this style because this is really you. And so I did, and gradually I started getting more work, and then I became pretty successful at it. So then many years later, I don't know, maybe 25 years later, the computer had started taking over the illustration business. You weren't making the kind of money that we did back in the 80s and 90s. And I had never really put my effort into making art, like fine art, like my own work. And I decided to go to grad school. And I got into Rutgers, Mason Gross School of the Arts. And that was the greatest thing for me because I had wonderful mentors there. It was a very female-centric school, unlike most, even though the head of the department was a man. But I studied with Martha Rosler. Martha was a huge influence on me in a weird sort of way. And Lynn Allen was printmaker, and she had worked at Tamarind as master printer. So there were people there that really helped me to find my own voice in my work.